everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with a brand new speed build, this time doing another build request. So this is a little cozy cottage and it's based on a 20 by 20 lot in Windenburg, and it comes in at just less than 70,000 simoleons, and it's actually a 2-bed 1-bathroom build. So this actually wasn't the next build I was going to have up. I've been working on another build request, but it's an absolutely huge build. And the thing is the build's kind of like, I think I'm going to post it. It's the next one I'm going to try and sort of fix and, make it completely right so that I'm 110% happy with it. But it's one of those builds that's kind of really, really frustrating. I really love the concept of it, but trying to kind of get it just how I want it has been a long process. So I think I got to last night and I turned the Sims on and I looked at this build and I was like, you know what, I'm done with this build right now. I've spent a couple of days on it and I'm really tired of it. So I decided that I was going to go ahead and do another build request, which was for a cozy cottage in Windenburg. So I love Windenburg. It's one of my favourite worlds, and doing a kind of cozy house is just like right up my street. It's kind of like doing a miniature version of my favorite styles of houses, which is just basically like a really pretty sort of suburban build. So I decided that I wanted to do a kind of smaller build, and I decided to go for this sort of 2-bed 1-bathroom build. Now it does look like it's got an upstairs in this build, but it actually doesn't. If you wanted to map out the upstairs so that it had, a kind of functioning second floor, then you're perfectly able to do that, but you would have to kind of mess around with the roofing. The thing is you could easily make this into a second floor if the roofing didn't bother you, but the builds that I build, I never ever build a build that has a roof that cuts in a really horrible kind of way. And the thing is you can actually still play that way. You can just play with the walls down and it really doesn't affect anything. But for me, it just drives me mad. I really do wish that they'd have come up with something by now to stop the roofing from cutting in, but it does, and it's just quite unsightly. So with this build, I wanted to do this particular style, and sometimes with certain styles of houses, because of the roofing issue, you can't always create them. But with this one, I was going to go ahead and do this particular style anyway in this shape, and I was just going to make it a kind of 1-floor build. So I was quite happy in the end anyway, because it is only a 20 by 20 lot. It is a small lot, so I was a bit concerned about how much space I would actually have on one floor, but I did actually manage to make it 2 bedrooms, so I was quite happy with that. But the main focus was really just to create something that was really, really cozy, that fit into the Windenburg countryside really, really well. And it was quite refreshing actually, because yet again I've done a few builds recently over in Solani, so it was quite nice to get back out into the countryside again in a different world and come up with something different. So I just wanted to say a massive thank you for all my birthday wishes as well, over here on YouTube as well as over on Twitter. I had a really, really lovely birthday. It was kind of just a normal Monday, if I'm honest. I was just kind of chilling out with the kids in the day, just doing all the normal mum stuff. But in the afternoon, my husband came home. He'd bought me some flowers and chocolates, and we ended up going for a meal at a Thai restaurant, which was really, really nice. And actually, that wasn't where I picked, because he rang me in the daytime and he's like, we're going to go for a meal tonight and it's up to you where we go. You decide where we're going to go. So really, I wanted to go somewhere quite local. I didn't want to go far away. So we had 2 choices. One was to either go to a steakhouse, or the other one was to go to a Thai restaurant. So we normally, if we go for a meal, we tend to go to a kind of Thai restaurant if it's just both of us, because we don't tend to take the kids to places like that. So it's kind of our opportunity to go. So you know, normally we go for that. So I decided to kind of pick the steakhouse instead. So I booked a table online and we were booked in for 8 o'clock, and we arrived to go for this meal. And as we're kind of like stood waiting, at first the lady was like, okay, your table's not quite ready. If you want to get a drink at the bar, go ahead. So we were kind of like stood at the bar and time was kind of passing. So we had this drink and then we decided to kind of walk back over and just see what was happening with the table. And lo and behold, the lady came back out and she was like, I'm really sorry, but the gas has gone off and we're not able to serve anybody meals at all, including everybody that sat down. So I was like, oh, oh well. Never mind. So we kind of like left there, and I gave this Thai restaurant a call and he was like, yes, no problem, you know, come on down. So yeah, that's how we ended up going there. But it was really, really lovely, and it's just nice to have a little bit of adult time and just kind of sit down and chill out, and it was really, really nice. So thanks again for all the messages. So just coming back to the build, I'm just finishing off the outside, and I did go ahead and kind of venture into the debug menu to see what I could find, and I did mess around a lot with the front of this house, because one of the things that drives me mad as a builder is lots that don't quite meet the path of the world. And what I mean by this one is set back, and the edge of the lot, as you can see at the front, it's kind of grassy. So for me, I'm not really a big fan of creating houses where the pathways just stop. Like there's no kind of natural flow into its environment. So I did end up messing around a lot with the pathing in this house and just tried to make it look as natural as possible at the front, where I kind of used this stone effect terrain, and then I ended up using this kind of pebble terrain to sort of fade it out a little bit. But it really annoys me and it really isn't a big deal, but when you do go into live mode, it just really looks a bit strange how the flooring or the stone floor just kind of abruptly stops and there's just grass. So I tried my best to kind of feather it in and make it look a bit more natural. So I did spend a little bit of time messing around with that, but I did go into the debug menu and I found some pretty little planters, which these planters are so cute. I think I've used them now actually in a couple of builds, and they're some of my favourites. And some of the bushes and things like that, and trees and just overall decorative items that you can find in the debug menu just add that kind of realistic element to a build. And I'm just so glad that we've got the ability to kind of use those items now. Although I still wish that they would kind of allow us to you know, easily search for these objects, because it does take forever to kind of search through. I'm slowly kind of getting an idea of where things are in the menu, and you know, I'm getting a bit quicker, but still, you know, it would be nice if we could kind of search for these items a lot easier. But I'm not going to do too much complaining about it. So in the outside of this build, I tried to kind of create this little front garden as well as one at the back. I wanted to try and keep as much of the greenery as I could, you know, in the garden areas. So we had this kind of seating area, and I did later on go and put a little bit of a barbecue area there, and we've got some planters as well. But overall, there's not a lot of space, so I just tried to make it look quite pretty and quaint. So just moving on to the interior now, I decided to do, I wouldn't say it was an old-fashioned interior, this is probably a little bit more of a modern interior, but I just tried to make it very cozy and very warm. It would probably suit a really nice kind of business-like couple, or a couple that wanted to start a family. Maybe they had one child, or it could be for an elderly couple as well. It's whatever, whoever you want to throw in this bill, basically. But I decided to create this little cozy sort of living room / kitchen diner, and it is very, very cozy indeed. I'm so used to building such big houses and having massive rooms that it's actually really nice to have a smaller amount of space to kind of fill up. And yeah, so I decided to play around with a lot of the natural brick on the outside that I brought in. So we've got a couple of feature walls that are just these stone walls that everyone knows I love so much. But I decided to go for this kind of purplish theme on the living room, which is something I don't do very often. So that was a little bit different as well for me. But overall, even though it is a kind of small house, it's got absolutely everything that you need in it. And I actually think it's like probably a good size build, really, as a kind of starter, if anything. Now, it did come in at just over 70,000 simoleons. So again, that's not really that bad considering that there's computers in there, skill building items, you know, you've got like really good quality fridges and ovens and dishwashers and all that kind of stuff. I don't think 70,000 simoleons is too bad. It's not too bad of a budget. But I just want to say thank you as well for all of your build suggestions. There's been some really good suggestions actually that are probably builds that I wouldn't ordinarily have done. I do find that when I do my own builds, I tend to go for the same sort of suburban builds because that's my favourite style. It's what I tend to gravitate to. But some of these suggestions have been really brilliant. And I have actually got quite a nice list now. And I think I've done about 5 or 6 builds off it so far. But like I say, I'm working on this really big build at the moment, and it is actually community lot. I can give you that much. It's a community lot build, but it's a little bit different. I just need to kind of like sit and look at it and try and make it completely how I'm happy with it, which is a bit of a challenge. And sometimes, because the thing is, I can't put up a build that I'm not 110% happy with. I've got to be really, like, really happy with it, otherwise it just gets scrapped. But the thing is, I've spent so much time on this build that I don't want to scrap it because it'd just be like a complete waste of time. But I'll have to see how I get on. So with regards to the bedrooms in this build, I did decide not to kind of personalise and do a kid's bedroom in this build. I literally made the second bedroom into, if anything, like a guest bedroom. It's very neutral, but it is probably one of my favourite rooms in this build. I just really love the furniture and how it goes with the stone wall. You'll see me working on that next, which is actually the final room in the house. But overall, I actually really like working on smaller homes. They're quite refreshing, and I think the thing that's really nice about them is when you work on a massive build, it can sometimes feel like it's going on forever and you just really want to reach the end. Whereas when you're doing smaller houses like this, it's kind of really fun because you work with this theme, and I think like this build took me about 2.5 hours, which for me, start to finish, isn't really that bad. I'm not the world's fastest builder, I'll tell you that, but that's quite quick for me, so I kind of find that quite refreshing, if anything. So I am enjoying doing smaller builds, I must admit. But yeah, I did really like this bedroom. I just love the furniture and how kind of worn it looks. It kind of looked quite pretty and definitely looked a little bit cozy. But I really hope you've enjoyed this build. If you have, please give me a big thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, it would be amazing to have you on board. But I hope you all have a fantastic weekend wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to seeing you in Bye!